Guaquin is a computer mechanic and is seen sitting in his wheelchair with the receiver of the telephone held to his ear. He is talking to a veteran about his dog Casimiro's condition. The doctor tells him that his dog's condition is bad and that in order to make the paralysis go away, Guaquin has to pay a handsome amount of hospital bills as it will be expensive. On hearing this, Guaquin becomes upset. He searches the internet for a cure, but finds nothing. He goes to the kitchen and fetches a cookie jar. He holds a poison injection in his hand and started injecting the cookies with poison. He plans to give them to his dog because Guaquin can't take care of two handicaps at the same time. After this, his doorbell rings. He drags his wheelchair towards the door and opens it. Drenched in water, he sees a beautiful woman, Berta, and her daughter, Betty. Berta inquires with Guaquin about the house rental ad that he put up on the internet a few weeks ago. He nods and lets them in. Betty is happy to see Guaquin's dog. She tries to pat him, but Casimiro barks at her, scaring her off. Berta comes in between and tells Betty to stay away from him. Guaquin moreover tells them to keep their distance away from the dog as it gets irritated by seeing strangers. Guaquin asks Berta to take a look around the house on her own. He sits downstairs and waits. Berta inspects the house and finds it perfect, so she tells Joachim that she will be moving in today. Joachim nods, after which she left. Few hours later, she comes back with all hers and Betty's stuff and does the setting of her things in her new rented house. Then she comes back downstairs and properly introduces herself to Guaquin. She tells him that she is a single mom who works at a club as a stripper. Later that day, Berta is unable to find Betty, so she starts searching for her outside the house. There she sees Joaquin silently sitting in his wheelchair. She goes to the backyard and finds that the plants aren't trimmed from ages. The swings inside it are now shackled up in vines. Then she finds a crashed car there, which creeps her out. She goes inside the house and finds Betty hidden in a closet. She takes her out and requests her to hide in easy places to spot. Later that night, when Berta is about to sleep, she finds a briefcase. In it she finds Joaquin's family photos with his wife and daughter. They seem to be totally normal and happy. Then she learns that a few years back, Joaquin's car crashed in an accident, killing his daughter and wife and leaving him paralyzed below the waist. She feels bad for him and makes a plan to make him happy. The next day, Berta throws a small birthday party for Joaquin. He feels delighted by the surprise. They both talk for a while and afterwards, Berta dances for Joaquin that turns him on. For a few days straight, Joaquin keeps thinking about Petra and her sharp moves. Shaking his thoughts off, he goes to the basement to work and hears some strange noises. He tries to listen to these sounds with the help of a stethoscope, but is unable to do so. Therefore, he attaches a microphone to the wall and records everything overnight. The next morning, he goes to his basement to work and starts listening to the recording. He is stunned to listen to some men talking about supporting beams, digging tunnels, and setting up lights. He gets a strange feeling. Out of curiosity, he drills a small hole into the wall and places a tiny camera in order to record everything. He is thrilled to see 4 men in a workshop digging a tunnel. After this, he hides the cable and goes upstairs. There he meets Berta. He politely asks her to leave the house as it is overwhelming for him to stay among people. She gets upset and asks him if he disliked her dance moves. He says that he will let her back in and will tell her the reason once she comes back. But Berta angrily tells him to take his time to think before making a decision. The next morning, Joaquin comes to the kitchen, and where Berta is also present. He tells her that she and Betty can stay. Berta becomes happy and excitedly gives him a cup of coffee. He tells Berta that he has something interesting to show her in the basement. She tells him that she will be there in a minute. After reaching his basement, he plays the video recording that he captured the previous night. He is excited and thrilled to see some men planning a heist into a bank through the tunnel they are building. Soon, Joaquin's heart beats drop as he sees Berta walking over to one of the men in the footage. He is Gallardo, the leader of the gang. He asks Petra if Joaquin has any doubts about her. She assures him that Joaquin doesn't suspect anything, while Joaquin is shocked. Petra then calls Joaquin and asks him if she could now come downstairs. He lies that it was a hormone movie he wanted to show her, but it is not playing anymore. Joaquin is worried, but he pretends to be calm. After this, he plots a plan of his own. Later, he goes upstairs and tries to talk to Betty, who is seen playing with his dog. She ignores Joaquin and doesn't respond back. Joaquin pushes his wheelchair away, and surprisingly he sees Betty saying something quietly into the dog's ear. It creeps him a bit, so he goes down to his basement and places a recorder in his dog's collar. He wanted to listen to what Betty was saying to Casimiro. With this, he keeps an eye on the live camera feed as well. The workers are talking about blueprints when Biggie brings Puppet in. Biggie tells Gallardo that Puppet has sent the address of a bank to a woman. Gallardo gets angry and integrates Puppet about the girl. Puppet tells him that it is a woman he has been dating for a few days. Out of rage, Gallardo kills Puppet by stabbing him with an axe in his face. Joaquin gets terrified on seeing this and decides to call the police. He comes upstairs and sees Berta there. He then holds his dog and tries to tie the collar around the dog's neck without being suspected. They have a little chat over drinks, where Joaquin made her take some drugs, making her lose her senses. Joaquin asks her to stay in his room, to which she agrees. Then Joaquin ties her up after giving her a sedative. Later he goes into the basement and learns through his spy cam that a woman named Reen will replace Puppet, and that Gallardo and his team must rob 2 boxes as instructed. On learning this, Joaquin returns upstairs and goes to Berta, who is now awake. He asks her about her motives. She tries to scare him off, but he tells her that Gallardo is a very dangerous person. After this, Joaquin brings his laptop and shows her Gallardo committing Puppet's cold murder. Berta now knows that Joaquin is telling the truth. He leaves her tied there and once again goes to the basement. There he starts digging a hole too. He again visits Berta and tells her that he will get the money before Gallardo. She tries to warn him off and advises him to sell his house if he needs money to be treated for his paralysis, but Joaquin has made up his mind. After some time, he is finally able to land into the tunnel from his basement. He crawls into it and sees a leaked water pipe. An idea strikes his mind. In the middle of his thoughts, he hears Gallardo's men entering the tunnel. He quickly hides into a corner and made his way out of the tunnel straight towards his basement. He comes up and looks around for Betty, who is nowhere to be found. He sees his dog near the basement elevator and rushes downstairs. On his laptop, he sees Betty inside Gallardo's workshop. Suddenly, someone comes in the room and Betty hides. Joaquin is anxiously praying for Betty's safety. 3 men appear and one of them is Gutman, who is also the mayor of the city. Gutman tells Gallardo not to steal anything from locker number 155 and bring everything to him. Moreover, he tells him to only rob the lockers that he have instructed him, otherwise the alarm will go off. After this, they all leave. Betty rushes towards the tunnel and Joaquin helps her out. He hugs her gratefully and finds a watch in her pocket. He holds on to it. Then he goes to Berta, who is in the middle of an attempt to escape. He holds her down and tells her that Betty can talk. Then he makes her listen to the voice recording. It is recorded by the help of his dog. Berta is shocked to find out that at the age of 2, Betty was sexually assaulted by her boyfriend Gallardo, and out of fear, she left talking. On realizing this, Berta had a breakdown as she felt cathartic. Joaquin is also disgusted by the incident, and he promises Berta that he will take Betty's revenge from him. She then makes a call to Gallardo and assures him that she is a bit busy and that everything is fine. In the next scene, all the robbers are talking about taking some rest before beginning a heist. Joaquin goes inside the tunnel and finds a bomb placed under the bank. He carefully takes it off and places it on the leaked pipe. Then he crawls his way into the bank and robs the safe Gutman had told them not to. Later on, as Joaquin is back into the tunnel, he sees Gallardo's men inside as well. Unknowingly, the robbers detonate the bomb, causing a minute explosion. After this, the burglars got inside the bank and starting robbing the safes they were instructed. They are concerned to see the safe the mayor warned them about empty. After this, the water pipe bursts, resulting in filling the tunnel with water. Joaquin cautiously tries to escape the tunnel and is successful. The tunnel starts to fill up with water, and Reen tries to escape through it after giving the money bag to Gallardo and the other 2 men, but they didn't help her out and flew with the money, leaving her to die. Joaquin lends his hand to her, but Reen instead tries to drag him down, shouting out to her fellow thieves. Joaquin knocks her off and closes the lid, causing her to die by drowning. On the other hand, 2 thieves who are stranded in the bank rings the alarm to save their lives, but also died. Joaquin's basement gets filled with water, but he on time manages to cover up the hole. Later on, he comes upstairs and sees Berta asleep. He tries to tell her what happened, but she instead moves to inject him with a drug. He knocks her off and gives some sedatives to her. Later on, police arrive outside the workshop and Joaquin goes out. He tells the police officers that a lot of damage had been done to his property. After this, he goes inside. Soon Gutman and some police officers arrive at his door. He lets them in, knowing who the man really is. They inspect his basement and find nothing but water. The mayor gives Joaquin his number and tells him to ring him up if anything comes up in the form of an emergency. After some time, Gallardo, Biggie, and Zerto enter Joaquin's house telling him that they are the police. Joaquin secretly manages to send a text to Gutman to come to his place. They ask him if he lives alone. He tells them he had tenants, but they left a day ago. Meanwhile, Betty appears, leaving Joaquin in utter silence. Gallardo smells something suspicious and finds Berta sleeping inside his room. He asks her why she is not awake. He tells him that she overdosed and passed out. Gallardo angrily strikes Joaquin, and he falls down from his wheelchair, after which he brutally beats him. Meanwhile, the mayor arrives at Joaquin's house and is shocked to see Gallardo there. Gallardo quickly ties the mayor up on his orders and learns that the police is also on their way. After this, he returned to Joaquin to finish him off. He asks Joaquin about what he knows. Joaquin finally starts begging Zerto to tell everyone the truth. Zerto is startled by Joaquin's request. Joaquin takes out Zerto's watch that he found on Betty and started making false allegations on Zerto, saying that he told everything about the digging and the robbery to him. Moreover, he tells them that Zerto used to come here every night to sleep with Berta. This news pisses off Gallardo, and a firing duel begins in which Biggie and Zerto die. Berta finds herself conscious. She comes outside and sees Gallardo wounded. She shoots him in the head, referring to her daughter's assault. Joaquin unties Gutman, who dragged the bodies, and dumped them into his car. He asks Joaquin to give him half of the money. Joaquin shows him the footage and tells him otherwise. Mayor is shocked after seeing it. He goes to the shelf and takes some biscuits from the jar as he threatens to kill Betty. Joaquin gives Mayor the bag and the mayor leaves along with the money. On his way, he feels uneasy and comes out of the car bleeding from his mouth as he has been poisoned by eating the cookies. A dead body's hand appears from the car as the car explodes. Gutman dies too, bleeding from his nose and mouth. Some days later, Joaquin sells his house and moves out to live a happy life with his newly formed family with Berta and Betty. Subscribe to see more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.